Home, school, our peers, and the media set standards for what's right and wrong, good and bad. A few examples. Consistency is valuable. Competition is healthy. Winning and succeeding at any cost is praiseworthy. Entrepreneurship is right and good. Working long hours is the gold standard. Hard labor pays off. Taking vacations is often seen as slacking or a sign of weakness and a lack of ambition. Being wealthy is right and good. Keeping up with the Joneses is good and necessary. Spending money is good. Having many credit cards is good. It shows your importance. Positive thinking produces positive outcomes. While home, school, our peers, and the media set the practical standards to live by, the church promotes an entirely different set of values. It's impossible to be true to both. Being a fierce competitor or a winner without scruples, for instance, is a direct violation of the Christian principles of humility and humbleness. The church promotes the lack of ambition and acceptance of hardship as virtues. Of course, at the same time, the church appreciates wealthy benefactors and affords them special privileges. At some point, one begins to wonder about these contradictions. While integrity, fairness, and justice are praised, all the other supposed secular quote-unquote virtues are in conflict with them. Eventually, many of us come to question the existing value system. We wonder who created it and for what purpose. Historically, the church was sponsored by rulers. Not surprisingly, it promoted values that facilitated ruling, not the welfare of the ruled. It helped rulers create passivity and obedience in the ruled. Whom do the more practical values serve? Let's take a look. Is consistency valuable? While consistency is generally praised as if it were a moral value to the individual, consistency is no asset. People who are very consistent suffer from stunted growth. We are lifelong learners. New information expands our horizons and changes our views. People whose views and opinions don't change over time either stagnate or don't evolve. To society, large organizations, the economy, and governments, on the other hand, consistency is valuable because it makes the population predictable. Is competition healthy? Fair competition is inspiring and constructive. Unfortunately, however, the competition that's valued most often isn't fair. Is winning and succeeding at any cost praiseworthy? From the perspective of the marketplace, yes. From the individual perspective, absolutely not. In most cases, the quote-unquote winner is cunning, while the equally qualified quote-unquote loser is treated unfairly. Is entrepreneurship right and good? Yes and no. To some degree, entrepreneurship is in our nature. Anyone who provides a needed product or service deserves to be rewarded. On the opposite side of the coin, it might be wise to consider two other aspects of entrepreneurship. Many a business has been and is thriving on environmental destruction and worker exploitation. Neither is right or good. The kind of entrepreneurship enriches one or a few individuals at the expense of many, if not all. To name an example, no one is immune to climate change. The poor suffer and will continue to suffer the most. Is working long hours good? For business owners, employees who put in long hours are the best. For the individual and his or her family, no. Loyalty and caring for the interest of the employer shouldn't have priority over the employee's health or home life. Keeping a work-life balance matters. After all, you are expandable to your employer, but irreplaceable to yourself and those who care about you and depend on you. Does hard labor pay off? Rarely. I met people who worked 2 and 3 jobs. None of them, quote-unquote, made it. All were and are working poor. Several developed serious diseases. One passed away in her 20s. From where I'm standing, working smart makes more sense than working hard. Is taking vacations a sign of weakness or lack of ambition? Neither. No one criticizes the boss for taking time off. No one should criticize an employee for needing time off either. We all need time to restore, recharge, and reconnect. Don't skip vacations. Is being wealthy right and good? Just like in the case of entrepreneurship, winning and succeeding can be wonderful, but it depends on its true cost and purpose. Is keeping up with the Joneses good and necessary? No, it isn't. You are not the Joneses. You don't know the Joneses. You may not be like the Joneses. You won't derive any tangible benefit from one-upping the Joneses. Does excessive spending show your importance? Spending money frivolously or charging things on credit cards to show off doesn't prove your importance. The public moments of glory are fleeting. Credit card bills are private and can be painful. Having money is good. Having savings as opposed to credit card debt is even better. Overextending? That's just poor money management. Is positive thinking really good for you? Positive thinking, like religion, helps live with discomfort. It keeps things the way they are. Critical thinking inevitably leads to freedom from discomfort. Who benefits from exalting entrepreneurship, winning and succeeding at any cost? The free market. Who benefits from employees' consistency, hard labor, working long hours, and not taking vacations? Employers, not employees. Who benefits from encouraging us to keep up with the Joneses? The economy. Who benefits from credit card spending? Not you, but the banks. They egg you on to charge because every time you do, they make money. How do all these values benefit you? Some keep you from aspiring. Some reward you for or motivate you to be cunning. Some ensure that you are a productive worker with little time for living or thinking. Others encourage consumerism and spending. Most people are not aware that many of the values we are used to embracing are fake. These are not moral standards. The fake values are used to groom us into being beneficial and profitable to those who have more power than we do. The word values refers to moral values. A few of today's values are. In fact, most of them are fake and serve as society member grooming, employee grooming, and consumer grooming tools. Are they ethical? Do they serve the individual or the common good? Not really. Worse yet, quite a few of the fake values propagate stereotypes. White people are told early on to be on guard for African Americans and Jews, for example. Social stereotypes and prejudices are created and propagated by society. They create artificial divisions between us and undermine our sense of community. Creating prejudices serves a purpose too. Groups are easier to manage than a cohesive community. Actual moral values such as integrity, self-reliance, fairness, frugality, or contribution to the common good, if mentioned at all, are used to manipulate the public. Are our current values actually good? Passivity and overwork demonstrate self-denial and lead to the loss of individuality. Winning at any cost is unfair competition. Consumerism is another dubious quote-unquote value that accelerates climate change and environmental destruction. What is right and what is wrong by you today? We are all aware of the impending climate crisis and the ongoing ecocide caused by the fictional need for economic growth and the ever-growing demand for fossil fuel energy. Changing the tide in favor of the survival of our species would render most of today's values useless. Many are unethical, just as many are short-sighted. As our awareness grows and times are changing, the fake values are exposed as the leading contributors to workplace dissatisfaction and employees' depression, acceleration of climate change, and ecocide. The fake values are in fact dehumanizing. The future depends on public awareness, collaboration, community, individual contribution, self-reliance, frugality and sustainability, as opposed to cutthroat competition and consumerism. The existing values need urgent revisions and a total change of focus. What if our brilliant marketing system had a healthy, constructive focus? Imagine commercials that discourage consumerism and encourage sustainability. Imagine public service announcements that educate the public about limiting energy use, conservation, veganism, saving money, staying away from loans and credit cards, developing saving habits, and learning self-reliance. The fake values condition us not to trust our common sense or our feelings. But where do you turn in a crisis? To your common sense, feelings, and people who think like you. These are genuine. Either the existing values shift their focus to reflect reality, or we, as individuals and families, must choose better values on our own. Throughout life, we find ourselves occasionally cut to size, pressured to conform, and restricted. Sometimes we feel like square pegs in round holes. Perhaps that's why many of us dream of owning an uninhabited island to escape to be alone on, to run naked along its shores. Stop. It's not about the uninhabited island you can't afford. Don't believe that you are chasing an unattainable dream. You are that island. You can be it. You can create it. You can live in paradise. You are that island you are dreaming of. Don't let outside forces, powered by one agenda or another, fool you, undermine your self-image, or reduce your value. No one can slap a price tag on your individuality. The world is what it is. Still, there is space within the overwhelming world to create a life on your terms.